Hello, everyone, and welcome down to episode 133 of Australia's highest ranked photography podcast, the Down South Photo Show, with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia. And the guy on your other screen or in your other ear, if you're listening to the podcast, it's Cam Blake in Hobart, Tasmania. Hello, Cameron.
Hello, Brendan. I feel like I've just been talking to you for the last hour.
We kind of have been.
We have been. Yes, that's probably the longest pre-show talk we've ever had, I think.
And that's fine. That's good. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to do this sort of stuff.
Now,
I'm only having water tonight, by the way.
Oh, I was having a beer, but half of it's on the floor. When I opened it up, it exploded over my keyboard and on the desk. It's been one of those days.
That's no good.
Hey, did you say we're Australia's top ranking?
Australia's top ranking photography podcast? Yes.
Right. We're in the top 10 of the charts at the
which
moment,
is crazy. Top 10 visual arts. Let us blow our own trumpets for us. Thank you very much.
Someone's got to blow us.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Good start, Cam.
Hand cut. That's why we rank so high. That's why.
That's right, exactly. Shout out off the top I had a customer, Mark, in the shop today, who is a friend of the show. Right. Yes, I did forget his name for a split second there. I didn't write in the notes. Mark, who listens to the show religiously, and anytime anyone comes into Ocean Grove Camera and Photo and has a chat and mentions the podcast, they get a shout out. So
right. What happens if you get a busload of people come in? That's going to be a long episode.
I'm going to have to take names, and I'm going to have to put them on a screen and scroll them up the screen.
Through.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give a shout out to Rob, who I mentioned last week, who did all the film photography.
Hello, Rob.
Rob, he actually sent through some photos already developed, look pretty cool.
Yep.
But he is now an avid listener. He listened to the latest episode and said thanks for the shout out. Yep. Yeah, and now he goes going through the back catalogue. So
well, that's the thing about the back catalogue, because we've been at it for a while now. We're at 133 episodes. That's 133 hours of back cataloguing to listen to.
What's that work out to days? That's a lot of days of listening to us crap on, isn't it?
Yes.
Actually, you know what? That's 5.5 days of straight listening.
That's a lot. Hello to Morris as well. Maurice, Maurice, Morris, who's I did a workshop tonight before I jumped on here to record this with you, my good man. Right. 18-year-old budding photographer local who needed a bit of mentoring. So I've taken him under my wing. We did an entry-level workshop tonight, and I'm encouraging him to send through photos to me so I can see how he progresses. Straight out of high school and keen on photography, wanting to get into the industry.
How good is it when young blokes or young women or young people want to get into it and want to sort of ask our experience and get our help? I had the young bloke Oscar for a while that I was mentoring him. I haven't heard from him for a while. He must be going great guns, but
he's flying.
He's flying. Like, he was flying when I met him, so he's probably still flying. But how good is it? It makes you feel old, for one, but it makes you feel good that you can pass on some of that passion and knowledge. And
absolutely. And if any of your listeners out there have got any youngsters that might need a bit of advice or tips or stuff, get them to drop us a line. I mean, we're not saying we're going to answer every single question all the time for them, but we'll hopefully be able to dish out a bit of our friendly advice. We've been doing this for a while, so by all means.
Here's an idea without any thought. We should run like under 25 workshops, so people, young blokes or young women, can come along and maybe you don't charge them as much, get them on the right foot, and
nice, charge them double.
Double. Well, they're all at uni. They're all rich.
Thanks to everyone who has followed along with the podcast. All 870 subscribers we have on YouTube now. Thank you very much. Just barreling towards that 1,000 sub mark. So thank you. And everyone who listens to the podcast, getting really good feedback from people who like to listen to us while they're at the gym or driving the car or whatever you're doing, walking the dog. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for tuning in and sharing us around.
So I'll admit, every episode we do, I go and listen to it and listen over it and make sure we haven't said anything inappropriate or get letters drafted for lawyers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The one thing I noticed about our podcast that I do like, I'm going to blow I can actually get past the first 10 minutes and not get bored, where some other podcasts I get 10 minutes in and I just want to slip my wrist and move over.
Avid followers to the show will notice that we had a slight change in the way we present our podcast last week.
We did. That was
we now have time coding.
Yes, so which apparently isn't that hard.
It's not that hard, actually. It was actually way easier than I thought it was going to be. And when
Right.
I actually did it, I went, why haven't we been doing this for 130 episodes? But if you look in the notes below, if you're on YouTube right now, if you look in the description below, you will see some little time codes there, which basically jump to different areas of the podcast. So if you don't want to hear this preamble about us, rabbiting on and telling each other how good we are, by all means, skip it. Go forward in the pod, come back later, do whatever you like. So time coding is there for you.
I think we call this section the stroking section.
That's right. And then it moves on to the actual
the guts of it. So does it automatically put that? You don't have to type it all in underneath?
Oh, no, I have to type it all in.
But
right. It's way easier to add to it than it. The catch with it is I've literally then got to go through and get it exactly, the timing exactly right for the time coding. So YouTube will automatically add chapters for us where it thinks we've changed topic because it listens to us, and AI does that. But it's quite often inaccurate. Whereas if we have, for example, a topic, which this week's topic will be myth busting, photography myth busting, which will be in the thumbnail. You've already seen that. If you just want to jump to the myths about photography we're about to bust, you can do that and do it accurately by hitting that time code in the description.
Wow. So do we need to thank anyone for that idea?
Probably someone did mention it, didn't they?
They did mention it. Good, very good friend of the show, Chelsea. Who?
Thank you, Chelsea.
If I don't do a shout out, I get a message saying, "Where's my shout out?"
Hello, Chelsea.
Yes.
Okay. Backgrounds, Cameron. Hey, we've both got buildings. Why do we do this every week? We sort of. This is not a setup. We just both happen to have buildings in our background.
The difference is mine's in focus.
Yeah, definitely.
My little shot. This is the other day out on the West Coast in Queenstown. Beautiful little West Coast town. It's a very small town, but very cool. I was out there doing the steam under the steam engine workshops for the last Saturday night. And we got there early, took the family over. We had a nice sort of weekend away. And this little laundromat just caught my eye. It's got like corrugated front and little sign and stuff like that. It's just nestled in amongst these two old buildings. So I got the little camera out and thought it was a bit of a black and white theme for the steam engine. So I sort of started in that. I know, it just caught my eye. I think I'm starting to enjoy street photography a lot, especially little buildings and quirky little cafes and, antique shops and stuff like that. They've always got some really cool frontage to them. And this one just caught my eye. Like, I think it's a relatively new laundromat, but it looked sort of old and cool in there. So I took a photo of it and, oh, Jesus. I took a photo of it and, yeah, it was a bit of fun. I'm overexposed.
On the Leica?
No.
Ooh.
No. I took a different camera.
You took an iPhone 15 Pro.
I did take that, but that's not what this is on.
What's that shot on, Cameron?
This is shot on.
I can't quite read that.
That's a Fuji.
It looks like a Fuji, yes.
X100V1 or VI7.
Yes.
This is a cool little camera.
It is a very cool little camera.
This is the one that I waited months and months for.
Did you almost forget that you had that?
I did, actually. I did. But it's interesting because if I can just show you quickly, like that's the Leica and that's the Fuji. Yeah. They're almost the same size, same sort of thickness.
Very similar form factor.
Very similar form factor. This is sort of set up like a rangefinder as well. But I use this for the whole steam engine photo shoot. And it was very cool. Auto ISO, away you go. Sort of F4 and away we went. So
a lot to be said about auto ISO now. Yes. Once upon a time, I would say to people, well, let's get rid of auto ISO. But now things have changed a lot with the way that they can shoot at higher ISOs so cleanly with noise reduction technology.
Yes, well, that could be part of our Mythbusters.
It will be shortly because I can see you diligently adding it to the script on the fly.
This is how much we put our episode together. We are making it up as we go. Your background is out of focus. What did you do wrong?
Yeah, that's right. I shot it with Olympus. No, this was on my landscapes and seascapes workshop just on the weekend gone, Sunday. It was fantastic little workshop, this one, mainly because I only had 2 people with me and I like doing really small little personal workshops like that because we're able to spend a lot of time one-on-one. And this was shot looking across from Ocean Grove side of the Barwon River to the restaurant that's affectionately known as Diver Dan's. That was the restaurant that featured in that 90s TV show Sea Change.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Sigrid Thornton used to sit out on the deck there and whatever. Anyway, I really liked. We were just trying to play with a bit of depth of field, so teaching people about different aperture settings and things like that. And this was perfect because we had the iconic jetty restaurant in the background, and then some nice grasses in the foreground that were being lit very, very nicely by the afternoon sun. So had a bit of a play, taught people a bit about composition and lighting, that sort of stuff.
Cool.
But the big game changer, and I showed you this during the week, Cam, was the LCD screen that I now have that attaches to the top of my camera.
Yes.
Which is basically just a 7-inch screen, which makes the back screen on my camera 7 inches wide. And when I'm doing a workshop, I can actually show people without them having to cram around me and look at a screen. They can see it a lot bigger and take a step back, and more people can see it. And it worked so well. It was really, really handy to have that on a workshop.
And it was only a couple $100.
They're so cheap. It's crazy. There's cheaper ones out there. I just saw this one came up and it was recommended and had a crack at it, and really good. So I'll probably be using that going forward on our workshops and also at BFOP, which is coming up.
Very cool. So you notice mine is in black and white. We probably should give a little bit of a shout out to the black and white August comp.
Definitely. Well, look at you. You're even doing segues now.
I know. All right.
Hey, I've taught you well.
This is stuff the chapters up because this is meant to come before the backgrounds, and I don't know.
It's fine.
So we got black and white comp on the DSPS Facebook page.
Yep.
It finishes at the end of August. So when this comes out, you'll have about 8 days to put it in or something like that.
But how about the level of entries already?
I was just looking at it,
smashing through.
There's some really this is going to be another bloody tough one.
Well, our audience is very, very good behind the camera.
Tell you, there's at least one that's not winning though. I can tell you right now.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been entered by a guy called Briandon Wettis. That's a crappy shot of the.
What did Taken to Piece call me?
Taken to Piece. Yeah.
I can't remember what he called me.
Hey, we haven't heard from Taken to Piece, have we?
Brendan, was I Brendan Fake or something? Or was that you? You're
I was Cam Blake. I don't know. Handbrake. We haven't heard from that.
I know what happened.
Listener. I don't know. You know what happened? Canon brought out a new camera, so they went running and put all their money in that instead.
Exactly. So our main topic. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
We're going to bust a few myths about photography. We thought there's a lot of myths out there around these days to do with photography, and particularly people who are keen to get into photography. We might explode a few myths around that, and we also might talk a bit about gear as well as we go through. The one that you just added, we won't do straight away.
We already answered that, didn't we, really? But let's go to the next one.
All right, number one.
Should we call it myth busting or just?
I don't know. We'll probably get a copyright strike if we call it myth busting.
Yeah, maybe we should call it like breaking the bullshit or something like that. Or
well, too late. It's already in the thumbnail. It says myth busting. So
yes.
First one, full frame is better.
Well, of course it is. Next one.
Yeah, that's right. See, this is gonna be a short pod. Myth number one, full frame is better. Cameron, your thoughts?
No, I don't agree whatsoever. Let's put it this way. Full frame definitely has its benefits. Absolutely has its benefits. But so does a crop sensor or a micro four thirds sensors or a medium format sensor. The one thing that I hear about full frame is better, which people should be really referring to, is that you get more megapixels and better quality of images, or you can blow them up bigger. But the one thing I hear a lot is people saying, but I can crop heavily on my full frame. I'm going to call that BS, because I think personally I try and crop optically with the right lens, as opposed to cropping 60 megapixel down to a 20 megapixel shot. So do they have better dynamic range? Do they have better depths of field? Pros and cons for that. Generally, the smaller sensors will have a better depth of field range. The full frames will have less noise. So there is pros and cons to it. Definitely. But I don't think full frame is better, if that's the question.
No, full frame is definitely not better. Yep, it has its place, as does crop sensors, as do micro four thirds sensors for that matter. But probably the number one thing that has stopped a lot of people from going full frame is the bloody file size they pump out.
And the price of the camera.
all of a sudden you're handling massive amounts of data, more amounts of data, and what do you know? Your PC slows down, or your everything you've got, and then all of a sudden that's all got to be upgraded as well. So full frame has its place, as I say, no doubt. I'm a big fan of full frame sensors that are only 24 megapixel. Because you still get a relatively small file size. I battle to see the difference between a 24 megapixel full frame and a 60 megapixel full frame for most 90% of my photography.
This is the thing, isn't it? Like, I think it's full frame is better is one of these myths that get fed to us from the marketing gurus of all the camera brands and going further, like some of the camera shows and also some of the camera clubs and stuff like that. The full frame is better. It's not. The difference is the person taking the photo and what you're taking photos of. Sure, there's some certain requirements. Full frame works better, like Astro will work better with full frame because of the less noise. If you're doing big prints or you're doing some commercial work where you need big files, then yes, full frame will definitely assist with that. But I don't think it's better. Like, the shots I got out of this little Fuji, this is a crop sensor, 40 megapixel crop sensor. The other day in low light in the dark train line, a train station, I was blown away by them. I'm like, this is great. So I don't think so. I think people need to move away from that. And one last thing on that as well is the full frame, I think, created its own little vacuum of problems in the last probably 5 years, is when they've gone from DSLRs to full frame mirrorless, because people have had to go, oh shit, I've got to change all my lenses over or get an adapter. Like, it's actually created more problems putting that full frame into a mirrorless camera.
It was almost a shame that when digital SLR took off, they couldn't just instantly be a 35mm sensor, because the technology just wasn't there. Yeah. I mean, it may have been, but it was so cost prohibitive that they just couldn't stick it in a digital SLR. So
I don't think that'd be a good question, as when was the first full frame digital release, or what was the first full frame?
Okay, that's a good question. For some reason, I think D100 Nikon was, that rings a bell. Or am I thinking, maybe that was the first DSLR that they put out.
Yeah, there you go. So you are gonna.
All right, don't tell me. Commercially available though, or you're not talking about some
obscure... The first full frame DSLR cameras developed around about 2000 to 2002. There was
so not a 5D.
There was two of them that came out, and then one not further after that.
Give me a brand.
Pentax.
Oh, really? The K1? Was it?
The MZD by Pentax.
Really? Well, there you go.
There was also an Contax full frame digital, and then it was the Canon EOS 1DS.
The 1DS.
I remember the 1DS. Yeah,
and so do I.
And then Nikon caught up a bit later on, but the first one was the Pentax and Contact N digital, which I'm looking at them now, and they actually look still relevant.
If any of our listeners own one of those, I want to see it. I want to do a selfie and put it on the Facebook page. I want to see you holding that bad boy, because that would be extraordinary if anyone's got one of those.
Yeah. So there you go. So I think we've busted that one. Full frame is not better, according to us.
Myth busted. We need that stamp thing. Myth busted.
Sort of, there's a soundtrack. It's like,
yeah. Copyright breach. Pro lenses are best, and that's all I got. And you can't change my mind.
See, I'm a little bit on the
best.
I'm a little bit on the fence for this. I'm going to say I think pro lenses are better.
Yes.
I don't know if they're the best. Again, it just always refers to the application you're doing, and for example, the little 60mm macro Olympus lens, that's not a pro lens.
Nope.
But it's probably one of the best macro lenses ever bloody made.
Yep.
So I'm going to say, depends on what. Yeah, that's a hard one. Well, I'm going to say maybe not.
How about I give you my thoughts, and then you come back and see if this changes your mind.
See if I can bust it.
I think pro lenses are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But the comment here is pro lenses are best. Now, define, in terms of pure glass optics and all that, they're great. They probably are the best.
Yeah.
However, do we need to use them Are they the best for everyone? Of course they're not.
No. Okay. No.
Are they cost prohibitive? Yes.
Yes.
I mean, full frame camera and a half decent lens now, $6,000.
Yeah.
If it's a pro lens. Okay, let's define pro lens. f2.8 would be the aperture.
Yep.
f4 to f2.8, I should say.
Yep. Yep.
High quality glass from
Yep.
one of the big manufacturers, like a Canon L series lens, or a Zuko lens from Olympus, or a Nikon ED lens,
or a G Master from Canon,
G Master from our
Sony.
friends at Sony. Generally speaking, what comes down to coatings on the end of the lens as well.
Coatings,
they have a special coating that absorbs light rather than reflects light. So the light absorption properties of these lenses is generally better. But what makes it better, though? I mean, particularly the genre that we aim at, which is landscape photography.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about, getting these awesome pro lenses that are low light capable and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue that for landscape photography, it's very rare that you're going to be using that range of aperture
That's right.
at the low end. So, and shooting wide open a lot, unless of course you're doing astro or aurora and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I'm a huge fan of the in-between lenses. So the ones that aren't the kit lenses that come with your camera, and they're not the pro lenses, they're somewhere in between. And all the manufacturers, including third-party manufacturers, have lenses that fit that bill and also fit that price point, where they're more budget friendly. For example, zoom lenses that cover a wide amount of zoom, there's nothing wrong with them. And I think it's actually one of the myths we bust later on. But they're actually, they're actually total. I mean, one of the people on the workshop that I had on the weekend, I think they had like a 28 to 200 or something like that, or even more, might have been 28 to 300.
Yeah.
And for shooting at f8 and f11 like we do in landscape, it was mint, absolutely fine.
So okay, let's bust that myth, because I think you're right. So there is definitely pros to using the pro lenses. So things like also the weatherproofing is another big thing that most of the pro lenses have. Again, everything comes back to, I guess, the application of what you're using it for. And you're 100% right. If you're not needing to shoot 2.8 or wider, if you're not using it in, weather conditions that are crazy, then your standard lens or your one in between, based on all the tools we have available now in our processing, you're not going to notice the difference anyway. Where you will notice the difference, I guess, would probably be something like portrait photography, where you've got like those 1.4s and 1.2s and 1.8s, where you get that beautiful drop off of focus in the background.
The bokeh.
The pro lenses versus the cheaper lenses, that's definitely a big difference. But I think overall, as a statement that pro lenses are best, I think you're right. I don't think they are.
Yeah.
I think it depends on who's using it, why they're using it, and what they're using it for.
Yeah. And I think the first two myths that we've busted, full frame is better, pro lenses are best, are two areas of photography that stop people getting into photography, because they get online, go on YouTube, all these people get on, they bang on about all this high-end gear. If you're making a living from photography, sure, because it's paying for that gear.
Is that another myth?
What, that you can't make a living in photography? That you can make a living in photography, that's a myth.
That's a myth.
Yeah, we all know that. But it's like, people see all these, f2.8 this and f1.8 this, and the glass, and look, don't get me wrong, they're beautiful. It's gorgeous equipment to hold and to shoot with, and it's looks amazing. There are a couple of areas as well that we haven't talked about, such as speed of autofocus.
Yeah, that's true.
But do you really need to focus in a microsecond if you're shooting a cliff?
Image stabilization. That's another one.
Stabilization. But even mid-range, some entry-level lenses have got good IS systems now. So pro lenses are the best. Myth busted.
I'm going to say it's 90% myth busted, but you did well.
Plausible.
It's plausible. It's a plausible myth.
Plausible. But no, you don't. You definitely, in my opinion, pro lenses are not the best. Myth number 3, Cameron.
Right. Yeah.
You, and not you, but the audience, needs Photoshop.
Bullshit. No, you don't.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious, isn't it?
You don't need Photoshop. It's nice to have some sort of editing suite, to work on. But even the ones that come in the box with the camera, or the ones you can download from the camera manufacturers, will do the job. I don't use Photoshop at all. I use Lightroom, and occasionally if I need to do something ridiculous, I might take it into Photoshop to take things out or whatever, but that's very rare. But no, you do not need Photoshop. The only caveat to that is that if you do want an editing software, let's say you want to go and just use Lightroom instead of Photoshop, you've got to buy the package that has Photoshop in anyway.
That's right.
So you're sort of screwed there. But no,
can I, sorry, while we're talking about Adobe, I just remembered something. I don't mean to talk over the top of you, Cameron. Are we pissed me right off today.
Radio
about Adobe.
Are you having a rant?
I'm ready.
Right. Loaded, cocked and loaded. Let's go.
I'm waiting for my coffee this morning. And as I like to do, I go in, I order my coffee, I sit out the front of the coffee shop and I scroll through Facebook, or I scroll through social media and look at the news or whatever. On Facebook, up pops a little ad from Adobe. And it says that they are having a 30% off sale for the Adobe Creative Cloud. Isn't that fantastic? Thanks, That's Adobe. Wonderful. Oh, hang on. There's a little asterisk there. Should I read what that asterisk says? I wish I hadn't.
No, it does.
You know what the asterisk says, Cameron?
Not available to people in Australia.
No. Only available for first-time adopters.
I'll get stuff.
So the suckers like me that have been using Photoshop for 15 plus years, 20 years, and paying $79 a month for the privilege, don't get the 30% off special. It's only if you sign up to Adobe Creative Cloud now.
Right. You know what I'm going to make I'm going to make an announcement. This is a community announcement. Everyone that uses Creative Cloud by Adobe, get on there and chat with them right now. Get on your computer and start a virtual chat with them, saying that you want the 30% off that you're offering, or you're going to cancel your subscription, because they will give it to you. They always do.
Well,
I've done it before.
That might be a bit of a myth as well, because I've tried.
No, it's not. Have you? Oh, you haven't tried hard enough.
Okay. Who's got time?
But try it. Get on there and say, hey, I saw your thing. I've been subscribing for years. I thought you might.
You can just imagine the comment section below, how it went under that ad. The very first one was, what about all the loyal people that are giving you all this money? What the hell? Get
on there, folks. Get on there. Let's do a mass. What do they call it when we do like a class action?
Yeah, it's a class action.
All right, so that question, do you need Photoshop? No,
there'll be a flash mob.
The flash mob. they can get stuffed Photoshop. Go use something else like whatever it is.
Da Vinci.
Capture One.
Nick.
Yeah, go do something else. Piss off, Adobe.
Yeah, we just rattled off 3 or 4 brands just like that.
Yeah, you can do better. So no, you don't need Photoshop, because they charge you 30% more than everyone else that's just starting.
Yeah, no, not. And when did we start paying for television? Aren't we suckers? Aren't we just suckers?
We're
suckers.
Can you please have a talk to Lisa, please, about that?
Oh my God, we are just. I worked out today that I'm paying $108 a month for these apps.
Yeah,
Netflix, Stan, freaking.
Do you know what you do? You go get Binge for all.
We've got Binge, for God's sake.
And have you got Fringe, or whatever it is? Fringe is all the news one. Fringe or something.
I haven't come across that one.
Yeah. We did the same thing about 2 weeks ago, and I went, why are we paying this much money for something we don't watch?
We are suckers, mate. We used to get this for free.
Yeah. Everyone complains about the cost of living. We're increasing our cost of living by being stupid.
Myth number 4. Manual mode is the best mode.
Greatest load of bullshit going around.
Yeah, it is. It's got a bit of a stigma attached to it, hasn't it?
I hate this one.
Okay.
I hate it with a passion.
Expand.
Because you teach what rattles my cage, and this is not shouting out to anyone that's been on workshops with me, but you probably have, and you've probably done this, but don't take it personally, as I watch my business go down the drain. So you go to these workshops, you spend the first couple of days sort of really driving all this information into people, talking about apertures, talking about exposures, talking about your metering systems, compositions, the whole lot. And then you come up to someone who's shooting and you look at their screen and it's overexposed, using the wrong aperture for what they're trying to do, all these kind of things. And you're like, oh, what's going on here? What's happened? Oh, I'd put it in manual mode because I wanted to get more control. If I had a shotgun handy for every time someone has said that, there'd be a pile of photographers about a mile high somewhere, because you don't need to. I did this example just recently on a workshop with a customer. They did exactly that same thing. And they said, oh, I wanted to actually try and get a slower shutter speed. So I went into manual mode. I said, right, time out. I said, let's do an exposure reading on this scene, right? Put it in aperture priority. What's the right exposure? It was like, f8, 60th a second, 200 ISO. Okay, put it in shutter speed. Do the same thing. I said it's the same light, it's the same exposure, it's the same thing. We're working in the triangle of exposure. That's all we've got to work in. And if you go to one extreme of that where you can't go any further, then you need to put filters in front and all this kind of jazz. But they kept looking at me and like, yeah, but I'm in manual mode. Like I get more control. No, you don't. You control you control 100% of it, yes, but it doesn't give you more control over the light or changes what can happen.
Yeah.
So manual mode is not the best.
That's a myth that manual mode gives you more control.
That's right. I actually think people who go down the avenue of shooting, I don't mind people shooting manual as long as they know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's when they go in there and they get lost. I think manual mode has created more problems for people's photography than anything else.
What do you put that down to? I put it down to this myth that once you know how to use manual, you have mastered photography.
I think it goes back to something that you and I love dearly, but has caused all this issue, and that is the old wind-on film cameras where they were all full manual.
Yes.
And I've had people say to me, yeah, but that's what I used to shoot my old film camera on, or that's what I was taught at school to shoot in full manual because that's all we had. I think people are a little bit reluctant to let go of the reins a bit and let the camera do some of the work for them.
Yes.
To create better shots for them.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a very good point. It's a very sound point because, and this is only from my experience on my little workshops that I run, the amount of times people get completely hung up on getting the exposure settings right and completely giving up on composition.
Yeah.
So you can't, like the best photographers, sure, the working photographers, the best photographers out there can juggle composition and exposure settings at the same time. Most amateur photographers who are looking to improve, it's almost like they want to get to the top of the mountain, but they want to take the helicopter to get there instead of doing the actual hard yards, the slog of getting up there.
That's right.
And learning as they went and experiencing all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people love to. Oh, I shoot manual. It's like it's this thing. It's like
and
the
big
other deal. So what? You shoot manual, all your photos are overexposed.
Yeah, and the other thing that goes hand in hand with a shoot manual to get more control is when you look at them and you're like, all right, so what exposure are we going here for? Well, it's in the middle, like where it's okay, cool. Right. So that amazing light that's on the mountain that's blowing out because you've kept the exposure where the camera wants it to be.
That's right.
You've completely missed that shot and you don't understand that you've got to expose for that light as well. But I'm in manual mode. That gives me full control. No, doesn't.
It's almost the exact opposite.
I reckon. I honestly think it causes more harm than good for people starting out in photography. Once you understand it all and you understand all the pieces that go together, like your metering, your composition, your exposure, all that. Once that all comes together, then go for your life. Go shoot manual. Do whatever you want to do. But I feel like manual mode now is almost made for heroes because they think, I've just spent $10,000 on a camera kit and I shoot manual. And then you look at all their photos and it's like, okay, you probably should shoot an auto to start with because you're missing a lot of the point. Buying a nice camera and shooting in manual is nowhere near making you a good photographer.
To the point where I find the amount of times I shoot in manual, and seriously, I can count it on one hand in the last 12 months, how many times I've shot in manual, excluding auroras, because with auroras, then manual's almost essential because it goes beyond your camera's limitations of its automatic modes, aperture priority being the main one I'm talking about there. But occasionally I'll be lining up a shot and I'll be in aperture priority, which I generally shoot in most of the time for landscape. And it's not quite nailing where I want it to be. Then I just flick it to manual. So manual becomes more of a safety net than a go-to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like you sort of get to a point where you're like, I don't think the camera's thinking what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Let me just go into manual because that way I know I'm dialing in exactly what I want because I understand what I want.
That's fine.
And 9 times out of 10, I've found that situation is your metering, where you're metering from, and
correct.
And then that's a whole other conversation. But
manual. I did a whole workshop the other day, and I was teaching people about spot metering, and this lovely lady on the workshop kind of forgot to take it off spot metering, and for the whole rest of the workshop, she didn't say anything, and it was like we got to a point, and I said, "Why are your photos looking so overexposed?" And she's like, "Oh no, everything's right." And I said, "Why are you still in spot metering?" It was like, yeah, okay, whoops. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Of myth number whatever we're up to. Avoid shooting in bad lighting. Now, come on.
That's not even a myth. That's just a stupid bit of advice.
I don't know why we even put that one in there, but
no.
Of course you go out and shoot in bad light. That's the best fun. When you get the best images.
That's it, because generally what happens after you have bad light, you get absolutely friggin' awesome light as it moves over. So that's a myth. I don't think we need to spend much time on that, because I think that's just people being lazy and worried about their camera equipment getting wet.
Okay, next, prime lenses are the best.
They used to be. I don't think they are anymore.
Yeah, the times they are changing.
Prime
lenses are good for front to back sharpness, blah, 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 blah. Because they don't have a zoom mechanism. So physics dictates that generally they were a sharper lens. But now zoom technology has got to a level where, most of the zoom lenses will give a prime a run for its money. Yeah,
they're pretty good. I had a funny little 10-second chat to a lady on the steam train workshop the other day. She had a Sony A7 something, A7 IV or something, with a beautiful 24mm 2.8 on the front. And, we were dealing with a few people, and it's sort of dark, and we're taking photos and stuff like that. And one of the other customers came up and said, "Oh, that lady's a bit upset with her camera. Do you want to go have a chat?" I'm like, "Oh, cool. What's going on?" She goes, "This bloody thing won't zoom at all. It's stupid." And she got really upset with her camera. I'm like, "That's a 24mm fixed. That's a prime lens." So I said, "The zoom is in your legs. You got to move closer or move back." She's like, "Oh, okay." She just completely forgot that wasn't a zoom lens. But I think prime lenses used to be. But like I said, the quality of the optics and the coatings and the autofocus and image stabilizing, all that kind of stuff that are in the nicer lenses now, I think would mean that prime lenses aren't the best anymore.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you're using this bad boy, which is a Leica 90mm f2 Apo lens.
That's very nice.
This is damn good. This is the one I got for steel, but that's a prime lens, and it's pretty good. But I don't do many zooms, if any at all, on the M series.
But could you argue, so that's a 90mm?
90mm, yep.
So could you argue that someone standing next to you with a Canon R5 70-200 f2.8 at 90mm would get any different a result?
Well, this is the thing. I think that then comes back to manufacturing of quality of optics and glass and stuff like that. I think if you put like a comparative Canon 90mm, Canon 75-200, same thing, I think you'd be struggling. Again, to the average photographer, you'd be struggling to see that difference.
Well, this is a blanket point to a few of these myths that we've been busting, like full frame is best, like manual mode, like lenses. I think what you've got to look at is, okay, are we looking at the photos that are behind us now that half of you are now looking at on your phone? Are you looking to enlarge and make massive canvas prints? Are you sharing on Instagram? I mean, look, at the end of the day, so I said to you today, we were chatting backwards and forwards as we do when we're at work, because we can't be bothered working and we just want to talk to each other. I made the comment that the 12-200 Olympus lens that fell off the back of a truck and you gave me is a great lens.
It's a fantastic lens, yeah.
And it's much maligned. Like people hammer it. Like they think it's a heap of shit. Mate, that photo behind me is shot with that lens. I mean, hello. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, this is the thing with photography, and we've harped on about this every friggin' episode, I reckon, is that
feels like it.
People just need to stop buying into the bullshit.
Yep.
Like a classic example of bullshit was today, BFOP announced that Canon were coming to BFOP. And I'm like, for frig's sake, the amount of excitement from people that Canon were going to rock up with their new R1 and R5. Really? Learn to use the camera you've got and master that before you start throwing money at these companies, whether or not it's Olympus, Canon, Nikon, whoever it is. Master whatever you've got before you start upgrading every time something comes out, because that's all we do. People think they've got to have the best lenses, the best cameras, and then the funniest thing about all that is most of, if not 95% of people chuck it on social media where quality of sharpness and stuff means absolutely nothing.
Goes out the window.
It goes out the window, yet we still buy into it. So
hey, the owners of these companies, Nikon and Canon, they've got to eat, mate.
But yeah, they can eat, but they don't need to eat 600 times a day because that's what they're doing.
How big does your yacht got to be?
Well, hopefully not too big. Didn't one of them sink the other day, yesterday? Some millionaire's yacht sunk with
damn,
people.
I don't know. I don't watch the news.
You pay for
it. True, I just don't watch it. Last of our myths.
Right, yeah.
You must use a tripod to shoot landscapes.
That's busted too.
Yeah. Well, I think we know that one as well.
Yeah. Image stabilization has come a long, long way.
It has.
I used to do the overland track and take a tripod. I don't take a tripod anymore because even at sunset and early mornings, I can handhold ISO 400, still handhold half a second, nice and sharp. It is incredible what image stabilization does. So
maybe we should explain how that myth has come about.
Okay. Do you know? Because I don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, landscape photography over the journey.
Used to be always land. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Landscapes, as we've said already tonight, are shot at higher aperture numbers. So f8, f11, f13, f whatever, and higher. And quite often that just cuts down how much available light you've got.
Yeah.
And your shutter speed falls below the 1/60th of a second mark, which is the limit for handheld photography. I don't care what anyone tells me. That's 160. Yeah. I'm standing by that. So you need to have stability. So you put on a tripod. But like Cam just said, what's happened is image stabilization has become so good in-body image stabilization married with lens stabilization as well.
Yeah.
That it doesn't render them useless. I mean, you still need them in low light, but for the time right up to sunset, then you're fine to shoot handheld.
And I think what that myth also busts as well is that no, you don't need a tripod to shoot landscapes, but not having that landscape frees you up for so much more interesting compositions. We saw it at Cradle Mountain. Like, I still encourage people to put it on a tripod at sunset and sunrise until it gets a bit brighter. But it's such a difference to it's like letting the dog off the leash. Like people are stuck to their tripod. All of a sudden they're like, oh, I can go anywhere. Cool. I'll get down low in that water bit. I'll shoot a bit higher. I'll shoot here. So tripods, they may become a thing of the past apart from things like Astro and maybe macro where you want to keep.
They'll always have their place. I mean, but you're right. Yeah. I teach that as well, is that tripods are great for stabilizing your camera, but they're an anchor. Yeah. And they anchor you to a point. And
having said that, some people need to be anchored.
Yes.
Some people go around like a bloody with their head cut off chasing compositions. Do you know anyone?
Guilty, Your Honor. There you go. We've hopefully busted a few myths for you. If you want us to bust a few more myths, link them, hit us up below. Tell us what myths you know about photography, and give us a bit more content down the track.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. There's so many myths in photography. And I guess the thing is, I can guarantee anyone that's listening to this episode or watching it has unbusted our myth on every single one of those.
Yes.
And no doubt we're going to get comments. I love the comments we get on our on our YouTube page when we put something up there. I like it when people push back a bit. It's good. Like, I don't know if you're right, boys. I think that's wrong. And it's great. Yeah. Because then we just delete the comment and move on. It's great.
The last thing that we think is that we know it all. We certainly do not. No. I mean, the last thing we know how to do is to make good content. So,
or learn how to put chapters on our friggin' YouTube channel.
Hey. That was a good move.
That was a good move.
I like the time coding. I can't wait to time code this very episode.
Are you going to time code each myth or just the whole section?
The whole myth. No, I'm not doing each myth. Cameron, please.
Come on.
Come on, mate. We don't have a deer cam this week. We do have some up the tube. It's just we can't fit everything into
up where
the pipe. I don't know what that means. In the pipeline. That's what I'm looking for. We just can't fit everything.
I'd rather not have deer cam up my tube if that's okay.
We should just do a whole deer cam episode where we just rattle off 5 or 6 deer cams. But if you have a deer cam question,
we know what we're lacking. We should do another live episode soon, I think.
Live episodes are in the works, as are some interviews that we are in the middle of teeing up. So
no word back from that one
there, no.
Okay.
Well, I haven't checked. It's the time zone thing is
Time zone's a problem.
impactful. So
Yeah. Okay.
I'll come back to you on that one.
Cool.
Something arrived for me in the mail today.
Does it vibrate?
When I shake it, what the hell? No.
Okay, I don't know what arrived in the mail for you. Give me something of a hint so I can try and
How about I
guess.
just tell you?
No, that's no fun. Is it camera
Um,
related? Is it camera related?
it's photography related, and furthermore, it's Down South Photo Show related.
Did you get
Oh, look
merch?
at your eyes light up.
Did you get merch?
No, not merch specific, not Down South Photo Show. Look, hark your mind back a month ago, and we had a young gentleman on here named Rudy, who was Rudy Astro, who was teaching us all about deep space.
Did you buy a
astro.
telescope?
I bought one of Rudy's prints, and it arrived today. I haven't unboxed it yet. Right. And might I say, Rudy, if you're listening, because I know you are, the packaging was extraordinary. I'm very, very impressed. And it's still sitting at the shop.
And that's why you haven't unwrapped it, because it's taken that long to get through the packaging. I
actually want to video myself opening it and send it to Rudy. So
you and Jamie, I gather another mention that doesn't deserve to be mentioned, Jamie. You and him are the same when you get stuff. If I get something in the mail, I'm opening it straight away. You and him,
I knew what this was, so
you sit on it. Don't you want to open it up? It's like Christmas.
It is. I do, and packages walk in every day, but normally it's just boring stock that I've got to put out on the shelves, and I can't have it. Right. I've got to sell it.
Hey, speaking of merch, I have some merch arriving soon, and some Down South merch and some other stuff. So keep that in. I got a message today that's in the mail. So
can we talk about anything that you showed me earlier? Anything to do with that stuff that you showed me earlier?
The link I sent you.
Yeah, that can't be mentioned yet, can it?
Let me just check the email.
But what about the other thing you did with them earlier in the year? Can that be mentioned yet?
See, that can't be mentioned either.
Oh, God damn.
I know.
Sorry, folks. That was so meta. We won't do that ever again.
So what's it going to say? I'm just reading the email. Yada, yada, yada.
No, there's probably an embargo. You can't
there is an embargo on that the first thing I did, but the second thing you mentioned.
Right.
And that goes in line with announcement of competition winners.
Okay, right.
So that goes in line with that. And the second one, the first one to the second one, I think I can announce that probably on the next episode.
Okay, very good. All right, well, there you go. Tune in next week for a big announcement from our friend in Hobart.
Yeah, I'm sure I read it somewhere, but now I can't see it.
It's okay.
No,
we'll work it out. Cameron?
Yes.
Beer donations.
Please. Oh, beer donations. So, beer donations. Where do we start? Well, we had some beer donated by Jenny C.
Thank you, Jen.
It's not Jenny, is it? Jenny C.
Jenny from the block.
Oh, it is Jenny from the block. Sean M. Donated some beer, and a newbie this week. Mel H.
Welcome aboard, Mel. Nice to have you as part of our.
Nice. I get the feeling he's going to be hard to, manage this Mel H guy.
I think he'll be a regular to the show.
Oh,
so, well, I'm going to tell you that I am catching up with Mel H tomorrow night.
And you know Mel?
I do know Mel. Mel is our... Look, I think it's fair to say if we had a number one ticket holder, he'd be pretty close. He'd be scrapping with a few other people, but he'd be pretty close.
Gee whiz,
maybe we should offer up a number one ticket holder position. There's a thought.
They can bid for it.
Yes. Here's a thought. Straight off the top of my head. This just came to me, all right? So be prepared for anything here, folks.
Mud wrestling.
No. Have you, and I'm not talking to you, Cameron, I'm talking to the listeners, have you listened or watched every single episode of the Down South Photo Show? If you have, I'm going to put your name in, let's call it something photography related, the dark room. You are going to enter the dark room. Oh, hello. I didn't even know you were wearing that. You are going to enter the dark room. And if you are in the dark room, then you are a long-term loyal listener. So I don't know how we prove this, but let's use the honor system. Hit us up below.
That probably cancels out 90% of our listeners.
If you have listened to all 133, listened to or watched, preferably watched, all 133 episodes of the Down South Photo Show. Now, that would be pretty impressive if you have, and we will make a little list of these people, and you'll go into the dark room. You can enter the dark room if you go back through the back catalogue and listen to every episode.
So, but the big kicker to that is, what the hell is in the dark room?
I'll talk to you off air.
I've
had a thought. I love it when this stuff just comes to us. It's good.
We're brainstorming on an episode.
Yeah,
right,
I like it. It's good. So I'm up to Bright tomorrow. So we're recording this on a Tuesday, which is rare. We normally record on a Wednesday, but that doesn't matter. So this is a few days ago. I'm already back from Bright, but I'm going up to Bright for 3 days.
Was it fun? Was it good?
Yeah, it was awesome. Going to scout locations for BFOP. Don't even know if I can even mention yet what we're doing at BFOP until this 3 days passes. So
I must say, your workshop of parachuting out with people doing aerials is a very interesting concept, but I reckon it might work.
GoPro photography in action.
Yeah.
Action cams and what they can do for you. So doing a bit of scouting with Charlie Brown. I can say that I'll be up there with him and going to head up into the high country. And I am so looking forward to it because I could do with a few days out of the shop.
I'm very jealous that you get. I said it off air. That's one thing I miss about living in Tasmania.
Cameron, you live in Tasmania. Shut up.
Yeah, but
try me a river.
Radio. Okay. This Tassie's crap. Anyway, I miss Bright too. I look forward to get up there.
You can't have everything, Cameron. Do you know why?
Why?
Because where would you put it?
With the rest of the shit that's in the back of the garage here. Looks like a bomb site at the moment.
You put it in your garage.
Put it in my garage.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? I have the wonderful, lovely, spectacular macro photographer from WA flying in probably about this time tomorrow night.
Hello, Cheryl.
Cheryl Davis Photography. We'll link in below.
Link in description.
That's one.
And time code her.
Time code. Oh, that'd be great. She'll love that being time coded. Embarrass the shit out of her.
I don't even know what that means. Okay.
Well, you said you were going to stick people up my tube, so I don't know what you're talking about. And now we're going to put people in a dark room.
This has gone right off the rails, this episode.
Anyway, Cheryl's coming out. We've got two-day macro workshops, 2 days at Cradle Mountain for one workshop, and then 2 days down here at Mount Field for the second workshop. There is still spaces available for the Monday, Tuesday, 24, 25, or 26, 27, whatever it is. If you do hear this and you want to get down here on the weekend, you can come along to the Mount Field one. But that's what I'm doing. And then I think I've got a couple of weeks off before 5 Star and I go to the Tarkine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have a bit of a rest. And then Scotland. My uncle and auntie are in Scotland at the moment, telling me all the things I need to photograph.
Fantastic. How long are you going to Scotland for?
We are going to be there about 2 weeks. I'm going to have to do an episode from Scotland.
Can't wait. That'll be brilliant.
What's the time difference, Brendan?
Don't know, but you're wearing it. I'm doing it at I'm doing it at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night.
I don't think so. If we do it at 8 o'clock, actually, that'll work. That's midday over there at the moment.
Oh, that's fine. That works for everybody.
Yeah.
Not rude at all. But of course it is. Yes, that's right.
I might do it from maybe a golf course or something like that.
Pop over to France and say hi to Rudy.
Maybe.
It's just over there. Awesome. All right, cool. So bit of homework for our listeners this week. One is to send us a few myth-busting ideas. That's one.
Yeah.
2 is to go to dsps.com.au and check out our wonderful workshops, in particular the Murray Mallee workshop, which is filling up, and we advertised that today on Facebook, and I'm amazed. I'd be absolutely blown away if it isn't already sold out, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not. No, you should come along. It's a great workshop.
It is a ripper. It's a hawker. It's very unique.
It is very unique, and we got some cracking images last time. And no doubt we'll get them again. You know what? I reckon we're going to get storms because we're going a bit earlier, aren't we?
Could do. We're going on the back end of summer, so we could get some storms.
If we get a thunderstorm coming across that lake or something like that,
across Lake Tyrrell,
I may wee my pants with excitement.
I think we might, if there's forecast for storms across Tyrrell, we might just stay there for the whole day.
That would be pretty.
And cool. I'll just run into Sea Lake and get supplies and bring them back out.
Look at you.
That's awesome. What I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
That's you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Beautiful. That has been episode 133. All said and done, Mr. Blake.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the embargo copyright thing for using the word Mythbusters, but we should be fine.
That's it. That's the podcast. Thanks for joining us on episode 133. We'll see you for episode 134 of the Down South Photo Show next week. Bye for now.
Ciao.